Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. My name is Jason Oliver, and with me, as per usual, are my two co-hosts, Chuck Moore. Say hello, Chuck.
Hello, Chuck.
And Jeff Arbuckle. Say hello, Jeff.
I think my real name is Chuck.
Oh,
I think you've got it all mixed up here.
oh, is this like a Diane Betty situation?
It might just be. I mean, I even wear my hair slightly differently when I'm Chuck.
We're gonna have to get Chuck a wig to match you if he's
Oh, you can't.
if he's our Rita.
Yeah.
I've got my bob on.
Yeah, so I don't know if you didn't know what you clicked on. This is our third week of artist retrospective memorials. We did 2 weeks previous to this week, memorializing the late great Gene Hackman. We talked about two of his films, French Connection and The Conversation, and now we are going to talk about two David Lynch films. This week, we're going to talk about the 2001 film Mulholland Drive. And next week, little teaser, we're going to talk about one of his earlier films, The Elephant Man. So please do come join us for that conversation as well. But first things being first, 2001 Mulholland Drive.
That was mysterious. Yes, very mysterious.
I thought we were going to start running a sock hop montage. During your pause there.
That was my first note. Like, what is this? Because it's like that really bad, like superimposing. Like, it's very purposely bad, and it's like it didn't do. Okay, I have to admit this is a first time watch. Which is funny because I had somebody ask me, it's like, how have you never seen that? It's like, I'm just not really that much of a Lynch guy. Not that I have anything against the guy. I mean, it's just, I'm not up with my Lynch.
This is like me not liking sci-fi. This is bullshit.
Exactly. And I will accept that it's relatively bullshit. Jason perked up when you called me out for that. I thought two things at first. First, I thought this was about great Phillies pitcher Terry Mulholland. It is not. It is decidedly not about Terry Mulholland and his drive to the 1993 World Series. Also, I always thought this movie took place like in the 40s, and the opening didn't really help that misconception, considering it was all like 50s American Bandstand looking, and I was very confused when a Ford Taurus smashed into a limo. I was like, what the hell? Although that might have been a Tempo. It might have been a Tempo, but I'm pretty sure it was a Taurus. Anyway, I was like, oh, okay. So I had to like reconfigure my brain bits to recontextualize this movie.
Is it possible you were conflating it with Mulholland Falls?
That's very possible too. That's also a movie not about Terry Mulholland. I've seen all the movies with Mulholland in the title, and not once has he shown up.
But I think that takes place in the 40s or 50s.
I think because that's like a detective movie. I think that must be what it is. I think, and also I think there's some. I mean, obviously, also there is an old Hollywood style in the first 2 hours of this movie, and I think also whenever I saw the two women, for whatever reason, I just like overlaid like like that styling of a 40s person.
Well, I think it's supposed to.
Well, yeah. And I mean, obviously it is, although it's hard to connect the way that, that Naomi Watts looks, even with her kind of bell-shaped hair. It's always Rita that looks more like from that time.
I think
throughout the entirety of this movie.
It's a bit of a Lynchian trope, right?
Sure.
Is this sort of hard to pinpoint time in place.
Oh,
right? Well, not necessarily
yeah,
place, but a time frame, right? Like Twin
absolutely.
Peaks played with that a lot. Certainly
And
Blue Velvet when we talked about
half of
Blue
Blue
Velvet.
Velvet is like out of the past, whereas even the small town G. Willikers kind of attitude of the characters from the small town feel like they're from like 50s television almost, and yeah, this is I mean, it's totally, the whole point is that the first 2 hours of this is very old school,
Yes.
very old school Hollywood, from the way that it's, mostly the way it's scored, but certainly how it's shot, how it's framed, how Hollywood is treated, how Naomi Watts talks to the old couple coming out of the airport is insane.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would fit right in a movie from 1947.
Yeah, I would place it maybe a little bit more. Yeah, late 40s, early 50s. I mean, it's kind of David Lynch's Sunset Boulevard in a lot of ways.
Sure, absolutely.
And it's a movie he treasures quite a bit. It has a big influence on his career with Sunset Boulevard. And he even makes a couple references specifically to that movie in this movie. With the Paramount gates, and there's the car who was the main star from Gloria Swanson?
Yeah.
That she was driven to on set every day. That car's parked in the studio lot, so it's like he's definitely he's not maybe trying to remake Sunset Boulevard, but there is a lot of Sunset Boulevard kind of seeping into this movie.
Yeah.
And it's very much an LA movie. LA is quite literally in the title as a character, right? As a place in LA.
I think it's kind of interesting also that like a lot of people think that Mulholland Drive is a kind of a haunted place, or there's like something to it that's more than just a road that drives up the hill, or whatever. Haunted is maybe not the right word, but there's a heaviness to that area that, it's like what you look out over.
It's very dark.
It's dark. You look out
at night. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of stuff is shot there. A lot of people like make pilgrimages there. Yeah. So yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, that's all right.
So Chuck, was this wasn't a first time watch for you, was it?
No, this is probably the third or fourth time I've watched it. I didn't watch it when it came out. I probably watched it for the first time in like the late aughts, I'm guessing. But it's one of the first Lynch projects I watched, besides Elephant Man that we're talking about next week, oddly, that made me want to go explore more. It's probably the reason I rewatched Twin Peaks, because I had watched Twin Peaks in the 90s, but it didn't have the same impact on me as it did other people. But it was like a catalyst for me to be like, I need to go check out more of Lynch's stuff and kind of redo his thing now that I'm older.
Yeah, sure. There's an intoxicating thing about this movie. It's one of those movies where you watch it, you absorb it all, and you feel like logically it should all make sense somehow. It's like there's all the puzzles, and you've counted all the puzzle pieces. It matches what's on the box. You have them all, but they connect in multiple ways to one another, and you can't quite configure exactly how they should fit, right?
Right.
But they're all kind of there, and you can mix and match them, and it works. But then something doesn't feel right, so then you want to match something else, and that doesn't quite feel right. But you feel ultimately like the puzzle can be solved, whether or not it can be, or not.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the overarching story or what happens in this movie is easy enough to figure out, right? But all those connecting like odd scenes, that some of which you'll probably talk about, were supposed to be related to the television show that he left in, like, I'm guessing the cop at the beginning, Sam whatever. Who is the cop?
Robert Forster.
Robert Forster.
Yeah. Robert Forster. I'm guessing he would have had a much larger presence if this was a TV show.
Well, this is a good segue into that. I can talk a little bit about the history of how this movie came to be. Because, yes, you're absolutely right. Robert Forster was going to be a regular player on the series. Him and the other cop. Recognizable face, but I can't place him in anything.
I can try to find it while you're...
But so all right, it kind of goes all the way back to Twin Peaks. Because originally, Lynch had kind of this idea to do a spin-off of Twin Peaks. And he claims he only had a title and that he didn't really have an idea. But other people in his orbit say there was more of an idea. It maybe was more of a Mark Frost idea. But the idea was take Audrey and take her to L.A., right? And she would be that Betty character who kind of like she gets dropped into a mystery in LA as a new aspiring actress, right? And then go from there. Intrigue ensues. Lynch doesn't. He claims that he didn't have that much of an idea, but other people say that was kind of the more full idea, and that would make sense too because Audrey, what's her name, Sherilyn Fenn and Laura Flynn Boyle didn't get along very well because Laura Flynn Boyle was dating Kyle MacLachlan, and she didn't like that Kyle MacLachlan had all those kind of more seductive scenes with Sherilyn Fenn. So that's part of why the second series also runs off the rails a little bit because they're trying to separate those characters as much as possible, and Sherilyn Fenn doesn't have as much scenes with Kyle MacLachlan in the second season.
Did anybody order a hit on the other?
Right,
because
exactly.
of this.
Yeah.
I just want to ask a really quick question because it's odd to me because we know that Sherilyn Fenn would have played Betsy, but it seems like the second actress is like a Sherilyn Fenn stand-in almost. Like it could be her playing that role of
Laura,
Rita.
The Laura Herring.
The Rita role. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I could see it, but I think obviously Naomi Watts is the lead here, right?
Right.
And she's kind of like us in a way. So
probably better for this movie that they have Naomi Watts than Sherilyn Fenn as the lead.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But all right,
I've got more to say about that as far as Naomi Watts later. So yeah.
There's a lot of interesting stuff about Naomi Watts here. This movie made her, but and then she has.
If it's not this one, the very next one absolutely makes her.
Well, yeah. I mean, she doesn't get that. She doesn't get that movie without the
No.
And in fact, Lynch was also offered to direct The Ring, which is kind of wild. Yeah.
I have no idea what that would have been like then.
But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing to bring up too at this point because, all right, well, let me finish the backstory of the pilot. So it kind of like gets shelved, and then Lynch is kind of looking for something to do. He's working on Straight Story, and that's coming together. But then somebody also mentions, hey, why don't you do another TV pilot? Why don't you get back into TV? And he's like, Lynch is kind of funny about this because he doesn't really like doing TV because you just lose so much control over the thing. But he also loves doing TV because he loves the allure of a continuing story that he can keep adding mythology to and keep developing as ideas come, because that's kind of how he works anyway. So he finds it very easy to sort of dip into that because he could start to layer things when he knows he has more time to do it, right? So it's really kind of a comparable to it's a good pairing for his creative process. But he always gets into this thing with TV shows too, where when the second season of Twin Peaks was happening, he was making Wild at Heart. So that also kind of like he started losing interest in Twin Peaks, and it also started like getting away from him. And it probably would have happened here with Mulholland Drive because of Straight Story. But he was kind of like, yeah, all right. Yeah, it sounds good. Let's do it. We have this idea, Mulholland Drive. But he was like, I don't really have an idea. So he did, though. He ended up writing it. He wrote it all himself. He generally has a writing partner for that kind of stuff, and he didn't for this. He wrote it. Disney gave him it was like Disney Buena Vista, and there was maybe one other partner. And it was like a total of maybe $7 million they gave him to shoot a pilot. They approved the script. They gave him the money, and he shot it. It was the original cut was about 2 hours and 5 minutes or so. And Disney, I read something about Disney saying they wanted an ending, just in case it didn't get picked up as a pilot. They could make their money back as a feature. They wanted like a definitive ending. I don't know if there ever was one because the pilot that is available to watch does not have a definitive ending at all. It's very much a cliffhanger. But maybe that's something that got changed when they wanted a shorter pilot. I don't know. But he didn't want to cut it down. He's like, look, you asked for a David Lynch television show. I gave you a David Lynch television show. Like you want less David Lynch, right? Because they had all these notes for him. He's like, oh God, why did I even do this? Right? It's his. He calls it dying the death when he gets into these production issues where he's losing control.
I wonder if this is where the boardroom scene comes from in the actual film itself.
Oh, most definitely from past experiences. I mean, Dino De Laurentiis is probably the Angelo Badalamenti character, right?
Oh, it's so funny.
But with the coffee and everything.
that whole scene was wild. I mean, that is like, talk about being dropped into a Lynch movie.
But anyway, he cuts it down to 88 minutes. They still don't like it. He's kind of relieved because they end up not picking it up. And he's like, okay, fine. It's died the death. I could just put it away. I don't ever have to think about it again. They already cut the pilot down to 88 minutes, and I don't want people seeing that. But he was very dismayed that there were like 300 videotapes of that made for different people to screen. And that's how it's out there in the world now, is because it was leaked, essentially. I remember old cons back in the early 2000s, you could get this on VHS.
Probably at the same tables that had all the old videotape concerts and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. It's on Internet Archive as well if you want to check it out. It's a little different. I didn't watch it fully again, and it's been a long time since I have. But there's more of the Robert Forster character and his partner in the pilot. There's several more scenes with them. I can't.
By the way, his name is Brent Briscoe.
Brent Briscoe. That is his character name?
No, that's the second cop. That's the actor's name. He's in A Simple Plan, Beneath.
Yeah. He's the drunk buddy. And
he's in Sling Blade.
Yep.
Could be somebody's missing.
Yep.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I'm thinking. So anyway, eventually a studio canal gets involved. This is a little bit later, and they say, hey, what if we bought it back from Disney and then gave you money to finish it? And he was like, okay, sure, we'll see. And then like a year and a half later, they were finally able to do the deal, and they told him, hey, you're greenlit. And he said he had a panic attack because he said he had zero ideas for how to resolve it as a feature. He had none. But
was Naomi Watts in the pilot? Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So she's probably languishing for a year and a half here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She I don't know. I think, I don't know really what she's doing at this point because she's got no real job.
She struggled hard.
Really hard.
I know she almost left. I know you're going to talk about her later, but she almost left Hollywood, and Nicole Kidman was like, no, you're not leaving.
I know,
Sorry.
Yeah, no, hang out with me.
But she was despondent about this because she was like, "Great, gonna be in the only David Lynch project that nobody sees."
Right.
Right? It's like just my luck. Right?
Yeah.
It's a very Diane Selwyn moment, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she said that she identified with the desperation that Diane had. And I mean, yeah, absolutely. I can assume if you've been trying so hard and you don't get there.
Totally. Yeah. And she identified with the Betty character, sure, but Diane much more. And but Diane isn't in the pilot. That's not a
wild.
construct. That Diane and the real Camilla, I guess, if you want to call her that. The other Laura Herring doppelganger. No, that's not. None of that's in the pilot. That's in the resolution.
That is absolutely amazing that they could do something like this and basically have it be a year and a half pass.
Yeah,
and you stitch something that was shot for TV, still looks cinematic, and you come back almost 2 years later and finish it, and it still looks like the same movie. Those are stories that never happen.
I can kind of tell the TV segments in this that are, because they look like Twin Peaks, whereas other.
Well, they're framed differently. They're framed differently. If you can especially see it if you watch the pilot, because you can see it was from the original 4:3 framing, right?
But yeah, there's like cropping of heads and shit.
Yeah, so this actually caused a problem. There were two problems. When they shot there were a lot of problems, but they shot all the extra stuff. But first they had to reconstruct sets. So Jack Fisk had to go in and they found some of them and he had to repair them. All of the costumes and everything had been released back into the stream of wardrobe at Disney. So they had to reconstruct all of that and figure out how to get all of that stuff back.
Amazing.
Obviously, he had to figure out how to resolve the ending and make it feel like a self-contained film. They had issues with frame rate, so they finished it on film, but that's in a different frame rate. So they had to somehow resolve the two frame rates of the two different sources, and then the two different aspect ratios. So that's why there was every theater that got a print of this to show that came with instructions on how to frame it in the matting because of the headroom.
Yeah.
Right? Because, a lot of times the 4:3, they're shooting and they're not shooting with the thought of, with the cinematic aspect ratios. So there are things that they don't want in the frame that would be seen if it's not matted correctly. So I'm trying
to remember because I was at the theater at the time that this was released, and I don't know if we had it. Because Lowe's was still open, so we had to share what was coming out. So we may not have gotten this one.
Well, it's interesting. I think it came much, much later because I saw this in the theater, but I watched it in a double feature with Amélie. Jean-Pierre Jeunet's Amélie. And Amélie came out in 2000, in February of 2002.
Yeah,
and I don't think Mulholland Drive made it to Castleton Arts, which is where I saw it until that time. But even though
it must have been a
because if you remember,
it must not have been a wide release.
If you remember, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when everything was on film still, it took a lot longer for us to get awards considered pictures because they would start really, really small, LA, New York, and then they would gradually expand. So it would be a while before they got to the Midwest.
Yeah, there would be movies that would say, in select theaters on Christmas Day, everywhere on, January 28th or something, or whatever.
It's a lot easier to do a wide release now for a small picture because it's all digital, right?
One, it's digital. Two,
you're not striking prints.
Yeah, and there's not small theaters anymore. Right. They're all megaplexes. So yeah.
Well, even the small theaters though are able to get them. I could see something up the road at the Can, in a small theater of 50 seats, same day that goes wide in megaplexes. Yeah.
I think it also depends.
That just wouldn't have been the case before.
Yeah.
But anyway, So yeah, another interesting fact about this. This is something that fascinates me. Dave, who was theater manager at the Castleton Arts, we've talked about the instructions. He said it really confused his projectionist because of the orientation of it. He thought it meant the opposite, so he had cropped it wrong, and then they figured it out. But what they did, and I would have killed to have seen this, is they matted it for an employee-only screening in 4:3, so that they could watch it. That most of the first 2 hours or so was shot for television, so they got to watch it with the proper framing, but in a new 35 millimeter print. It's like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Of course, it didn't quite work then later for some of the stuff shot in the last act, but for all the stuff in the first 2 acts, it just looked more natural because that's the way it was supposed to be framed. Yeah. Okay, so they got the money. Obviously, they made the movie. It went to Cannes. David Lynch, one of the few awards he ended up winning in his career. He won. He did win Palme d'Or with A Lot of Heart earlier than this, but he won Best Director. He shared it with Joel Cohen for No Country for Old Men. No, not No Country for Old Men. Is that right? Was that what it was?
No, 2001 must have been a brother. Our man wasn't there.
It was the man who wasn't there. Yes. Yeah. It didn't really make much money though, because David Lynch movies just don't. But it was very well received critically, and ultimately, I think it's kind of had this more of a cult following. It's gotten just year over year, it appreciates in the eyes of critics even more. Like, it's just become this jewel that continues to shine in David Lynch's filmography. And yeah, I mean it made Naomi Watts' career. Like, when it finally came out, a lot of the reviews focused on her. It got her name out there. And yeah, she started booking regular business after this came out. Good for her.
I have one note, if I can, about the directors splitting the award. It's funny that it's Cohen and Lynch because this movie has the most like Cohen brothers scene in the world. Like,
they're
for
both
David Lynch.
they're both the kind of noir films too, right?
Yes, they do. Yeah. They're like simpatico in a lot of ways.
Yeah. That would be a great double feature. That's a hell of a fun can. Yeah. To have both those films there. Yeah. But yes, I always forget how funny this movie is because it's really funny. There are really strange and kind of what the fuck moments, obviously, but it's a funny movie. Even right from the start, with Betty just being like completely bonkers, starry-eyed, talking to the couple she met on the plane, right? The whole bit with her, oh, my luggage, and then
my bags.
The cab driver's got them. And she's like, where to, man? It's it's playing against all of those typical, small town girl in the big city vibes.
I think that's super smart because it does let you know right away that something is off with 100%. What you are watching or what you are seeing. This is not what actually happened, probably.
Right. And yeah, I do believe that whole beginning sequence of the sock hop, which we get a little bit of an explanation for later, that is our kind of, we're falling to sleep and entering a dream, right? I believe there are counter arguments to this, that the first 2 acts, the first 2 hours of this movie is a dream, and the last half hour or so is the real world. I can see some of those arguments. I think there are things that happen before we transition into the real world that are super confusing, almost kind of Mobius Strip-esque, where it's like, it almost kind of feels like a doppelganger or a bleeding of parallel universes or something happening, right? But the most beautiful thing about this movie is it doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, I've got like basically 3 reads that I can bounce in between
Yeah.
at whatever I'm feeling. Like, obviously, the dream one is very, I mean, like, there's a lot of things that are pointing to a dream. I think it is more accurate that this is not a sleeping dream, but a waking dream of guilt trying to build a new world for Betty slash Diane, which we'll explain that as we go through the movie.
Yes.
But and then I can buy into the parallel universes where like the box is the thing that is, that you enter and exit out of. Because there's obviously something that happens with that box that causes another character to think that they heard something to where, there is some sort of a Donnie Darko-esque bleeding there of some sort.
Yeah, and that's a good movie to kind of bring up, because I feel the same way in a lot of ways watching Donnie Darko as I do watching this movie, because I don't feel like all the logic works in Donnie Darko, but I feel like there's still a way to put it together.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel the same way, where it all just seems like it's just out of reach, right? Mm-hmm. And it gives
but that it's okay
ethereal, that ethereal, dreamy kind of aspect of it too. That it just doesn't matter. And because it does feel like a waking life. Right, like like you said, sort of a waking dream, right? Where it is reality, but it still feels malleable, right?
Well, somebody is controlling the reality, and somebody's imagination or hands are molding and shaping this reality, and it's also. The other thing, there's kind of a fourth thing I was tinkering with last night that I was trying to figure out too, which was there is this kind of idea also where this movie is all about movies, right? Like it's got a lot of that, like, this is taking place in Hollywood. It's about actresses and it's about, a director. And I also kind of think of it like there's a lot of things in this movie that you could point to and say, oh, this is just like somebody working through a script. Something happens because it has to happen. It doesn't make any sense, but it has to happen for it to work. And it's almost like, it could be somebody writing this story through the first 2 hours of it. It has that feel of like that kind of omnipotent godlike being that's typing out this story, and things come to pass and things happen because that's the only way it can happen. It's the only way that works. So there is a little bit of that I was kind of trying to puzzle through too, but it's hard to reconcile that with the final 30 minutes.
But it's also fascinating because if you think about it from the viewpoint of, let's say it is like a screenwriter, right? And they are kind of suffering through trying to figure out how to connect pieces of plot and connect ideas, right? And they're like, I have no idea where I'm going with this story. And maybe like the last act is sort of like that despair of
sure.
It's
the manic. I'm up against the wall now.
Yeah. Like deadlines and responsibilities, and I've got to come up with something, or it's just the I can't. It's blocked. Right.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
I'm with you guys, but I also think this is the most straightforward way Lynch has ever told us. He's telling us it's a dream.
Sure.
With the crawl over the bed and the head hitting the pillow, like right before you get to Betty. And that's like, there's 2 meanings to that too, I think, because it's also the last moments of someone's life, right? I think as well. But it
certainly could be read that way. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I prescribe to the dream thing because I think he kind of tells us that, but
I generally agree, Chuck. I just think that there are too many other things that happen that also contradict it. in some ways, right? And
Yeah, that's why it's a mix
especially
of.
if you consider like the ending, when did the dream occur? Is it happening, after death or in that liminal space before?
I was thinking maybe a little Jacob's Ladder here too.
Yeah.
But I
feel like
also
it's
think,
I have a moment where I feel like it's taking place too. But
And who ultimately is Diane? Because there is a dead woman named Diane in the dream, right?
right, which I mean, so I think, and Chuck, yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of dream logic here, especially with the whole thing with the diner and like the thing that's out back. That is definitely dream logic stuff.
Yeah.
and because he's talking about a dream in that scene.
Exactly. Like
Too.
we're being told that this is what he sees in his dream,
Yeah.
and that when he sees it in real life, he croaks. I mean, it's like falling when you're dreaming and or you die in your dream or whatever, right? But I think it's a combination of dream logic and imagination logic, because
But those are kind of the same thing.
it can't. Yeah, I mean, just one's waking and one's asleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm fairly certain that the man behind Winky's scene was shot after the pilot, because like I didn't watch the full pilot, but I was kind of trying to skip through it and I couldn't find it. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, that would also lend itself to that idea, right? It was like he's trying to give us more of that feeling of, yeah, is this a dream? But it's also, it could be Lynch kind of like misdirecting too.
I think it's a little clue, but it could be read multiple ways, probably.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's kind of how Lynch likes to deal.
Yes.
Right?
well, yeah. And
Does this work, and can it be interpreted different ways? Right?
He's the artist that I think he's probably said this before, like, it doesn't matter what I was trying to tell you, it's what you got out of it.
Do you want me to read? I want to read this. I think you'll enjoy this. So this is from Lynch on Lynch with Chris Rodley. It's kind of like, this is the Lynch Bible in a lot of ways, other than Room to Dream, which is also very good. But this is one of the best. And Rodley asks him, he says, audiences have struggled trying to work the movie out. And at a certain point, they just want you to tell them what it all means to you. And he says, yeah, and I always say the same thing. I think they really know for themselves what it's about. I think that intuition, the detective in us, puts things in a way that makes sense for us. They say intuition gives you an inner knowing. But the weird thing about inner knowing is that it's really hard to communicate that to someone else. As soon as you try, you realize that you don't have the words or the ability to say that inner knowing to your friend. But you still know it. It's really fascinating. I think you can't communicate it because the knowing is too beautifully abstract. And yet poets can catch an abstraction of words and give you a feeling that you can't get any other way. I think people know what Mulholland Drive is to them, but they don't trust it. They want to have someone else tell them. I love people analyzing it, but they don't need me to help them out. That's the beautiful thing, to figure things out as a detective. Telling them robs them of the joy of thinking it through and feeling it through and coming to a conclusion.
So much better said what I was saying.
from the mouth of the man himself. Yeah.
Good stuff. I do like that.
And I like this too, real quickly. And it doesn't matter if that conclusion isn't the same as yours. And he answers, right, because even if you get the whole thing, there should still be some abstract elements in it that you'd have to kind of think. You have to say, I kind of understand that, but I don't know exactly what it is. Sort of. The frames are always the same on the film. It's always the same length, and the same soundtrack is always running along it. But the experience to the room changes depending on the audience. That's another reason why people shouldn't be told too much, because knowing putrefies that experience. So there you go.
all right. So, what's this movie all about?
So we've already met Betty. She gets off the plane. She's had a wonderful conversation with two elderly an elderly couple on the plane who I kind of sort of feel like are stand-in for Diane's parents.
Parents or grandparents or something. Yeah. Because didn't she say, isn't the grandparent or no, it's not that. They could also be stand-ins. Could they not be stand-ins for the dance judges that awarded her the jitterbug or whatever
jitterbug contest? Yeah, that sort of like launches her.
Someone who encouraged her to go to Hollywood.
Yeah,
exactly. And now she's having that conversation with them as she's arriving to Hollywood. Now we also, the night before all of this, because she's headed to a very specific place.
Yeah.
When she gets into the cab. And by the way, when we switch back to the old couple, like just marveling at everything in Hollywood, that cracked me up. Just their like almost drunken grins and chuckles over everything just cracks me up.
I honestly I read that a different way too, because
I read them as demonic almost.
Yes, I read them.
I can see that too. Absolutely.
As they are laughing at her naivete.
Sure. That could. I mean, certainly by the time you get to the end, that scene can change.
Yeah.
And especially because of what we see of them later, because they turn out to be rather creepy old people.
I was creeped out in the beginning, but I'd seen this movie before, so maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Maybe if I watched it again, I'm sure I could have a different read as well. But the night before, we have a botched assassination attempt.
Oh yeah.
Which so there's a very pretty dark-haired lady being driven in a back of a limo. They stop. She tells them, and it's a really interesting line, "You're not supposed to stop here." And they say, "Well, yeah, whatever," and they're going to shoot her. But there's a group of kids just fucking around in cars. And one of the cars just smashes into the limo, killing the assassin.
Yeah.
And
you gotta, like, if you're on Mulholland Drive, you just don't stop in the middle of the road anyway, right?
No, because it's all twisty turny.
Yeah. It's pretty dangerous. Yeah.
Right. And so she slips out and in her kind of fugue state ends up coincidentally sneaking into the apartment, or it's a house, but they're kind of built like apartments, right? Like that's that old Los Angeles architecture of these kind of houses that have like a common courtyard.
Like a courtyard and gate. Yeah. It's a gate.
And there's a manager. Yeah. It's like a condo more than anything, I guess.
Yeah.
They're really nice condos though. I hate to think how much those would cost. But anyway.
Poor Jack Fisk had to build it twice.
Right. Probably cost more than what he had to build it for both times combined too these days. But anyway, she sneaks in as this lady is packing up and leaving. And it just so happens that that's the same place that Betty's aunt lives and that she's being taken to when she arrives in California.
Yeah, because that's what's her aunt's name? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, it's Aunt.
I can't remember.
I'll look it up. Continue on.
But anyway, yeah. So she slips in to the apartment because that lady's leaving. And then Betty, of course, is arriving to move into her aunt's house because she's giving her, she's got an audition and she's going to give it a chance in Hollywood as a young starlet. She's going to give it a go. And so she's got this beautiful apartment to stay in that she doesn't have to pay for. Somehow she already has an audition that they're going to fax the lines over to her in a couple days, and everything seemed like they're just going to be going great for Betty. But when she gets to the apartment, and Coco, the apartment manager, who she's a old Hollywood like starlet herself, Ann Miller. Yeah, he worked with Frank Capra. That's how far back she goes. gives her, kind of gets her in. Aunt Ruth, Chuck, thank you. Gets her in and leaves. Lets her be. Lets her get settled in, and then as Betty is getting comfortable and goes into the bathroom, she sees that there's someone in the shower. You can see kind of like a jagged. It's interesting choice of how they meet, because she's in the shower and she can't see her completely. It's the glass kind of jaggeds.
It obscures her for sure. She's in pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know there was someone here. My aunt didn't tell me." She assumes that it's a friend of her aunt's who's maybe staying there as well, or maybe there was a mix-up. But clearly that's not the case.
Yeah, and she asks her what her name is,
and she can't respond.
She doesn't know. Yeah, she can't respond. And as I'm going to struggle with the names because too many people.
I think we should
same person. Betty.
Yeah, I think Betty and Rita is what we should refer to them in this part. Yeah,
yes. Betty and Rita.
Betty walks into the room, and then Rita gets out of the shower. We don't know her name yet, but she sees the old Hollywood poster. I forget which movie, but
Gilda. Yeah. The famous poster from almost the same poster from Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Wait, which one?
Gilda.
No. The other thing you said.
Rita from Shawshank Redemption. Rita
from Shawshank.
Rita Hayworth from Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Because it's the movie where she flips back her hair and
Gilda.
pops up in the screen. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So she tells her name is Rita, and then she's like, "I gotta sleep," and she lays down, and
she's like, "If you've got a concussion, you shouldn't sleep."
Okay.
And I was saying that too.
Yeah.
Well, because she thinks this is another way to say, Chuck's onto something with like the actual sleeping dream logic story, that she wants to go to sleep to forget or to get away from the trouble that she's sensing. And it's like she's trying to use sleep in an inverse way, almost as if to free herself from something, as opposed to, anyway.
Oh man, the dog poop kills me. It's like, you don't have pets, do you? They're allowed, of course, but we once had a man here who had a prize-fighting kangaroo, and what it did to the courtyard.
So that is funny, but it also like alludes to Kangaroo Court, which I was thinking about, like the rest of the movie, like where's the judgment, the false judgment of a person in this movie, because that's what a kangaroo court is, right? Like they get together and falsely.
Yeah, you're really going in there, huh?
I mean, it seemed too obvious to me that kangaroo and court were used together, but
yeah, that's interesting. I've never thought of that.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to match anything in my head right now as far as...
Yeah, it's probably just a jokey thing, too.
Yeah.
Like pairing the two things, kangaroo and court, and Lynch Lynch has
being a jerk.
Humor.
He's being a jerk.
And he has a sense of humor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm smirking as I call him a jerk.
It's just funny on its face, right?
Yes. It's all absurd.
Yeah, it's like,
it's absurd stuff that's going on.
How do you live with a kangaroo?
Yeah.
I mean, anyway.
Prize-fighting kangaroo.
Yeah, no less. It'll box you if you try to kick it out of the bed. Also, that the close-up shot of, it's not even a close-up shot of the poop, but that was one of the things that ABC Disney did not like about
some dog poop in the shot. Stupid.
I forget what Lynch said or something, but he was like, find me one person on this planet who hasn't already seen dog poop.
Yeah, I mean, anyway.
Pretty fun.
He's like, well, I'll show them. I'll put in a whole lesbian sex scene.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of the things he said to the actresses, Naomi Watts, Laura Herring. He's like, when he told them, he gave them the extra script scenes. He also said with a grin, "And there will be nudity."
And we all appreciated that.
Oh,
thank you, Mr. Lynch.
Out from the confines of a Disney pilot. Yeah.
Yes.
So good. All right, so where are we at? I think we pivot here to Winkies. Or
This Winkies?
Should we have already seen Winkies?
I think we already saw Winkies at this point.
But let's talk about Winkies, because this is kind of one of those iconic scenes in this movie that people remember. The man behind Winkies, who was not a man actually at all.
Yeah, played by a woman.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought it was like a little old witchy woman.
that's Bonnie Aarons.
Ah.
She was she's the nun. Like
Yes, she plays the nun.
She's the nun. She's also what was she in? Damn it. Something else like kind of famous. Anyway, yeah. That's Bonnie Aarons. I think she was in American Horror Story.
Oh yeah, I think
She was something in that, but I could be wrong. Anyway, but yeah, she's the nun, but she was the man behind Winkies.
Oh, so did you talk about them getting the money? Because Winkies happens after that. They discover the money in the purse.
Oh, the money and the key.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess
So I guess
we are. Yeah. As they wake up, they go through the purse, and there's like a stack of $100 bills and a blue triangular like key. And then they like kind of look at each other. Commercial break. Open back up in Winkies. I'm just envisioning.
I think we're all mixed up on the chronology.
I don't know if it matters.
Winkies happens earlier in this movie than you think, but
yeah, it happens before, but
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Let's talk about it though.
I like that they just repurposed the Denny sign.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that? That is like, that's very obviously the Denny's. Yes.
Well, apparently that was before it was a Denny's. It was also like a really famous old style cafe that
I'm surprised it's not a Frisch's Big
that
Boy.
a lot of actors. Well, yeah, I know. Well, David Lynch, he loves his Frisch's, but he also would go to that Denny's.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, and I would order a Grand Slam.
Did he ever call anything there bullshit?
And I think he was actually having a producer meeting or something, and he came up with that scene because they were like going to pay, and he was watching them, and he had like kind of a feeling of dread, and so he started to kind of catch that idea. Yeah,
That's funny.
I had a Grand Slam.
I can see him and hear him saying that. Yes, in that very odd tone that his voice has.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but this is the scene. This is all right. So it's the actor. He shows up in a few Lynch things. God, what's his name? Patrick Fischler.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's talking to someone else, a friend, colleague, about this dream he has, that when he sits in the seat that he's sitting in now, and his friend is sitting in the seat that he's sitting in now, and this overwhelming feeling of dread and uncertainty is kind of hanging in the air, and then his friend gets up to pay, and they look at each other, and he sees in his friend fear, and then that makes him more afraid. But then he knows that there's something behind the Winkies that is bad.
I can see him through the wall.
I can see him through the wall. Yeah, it would be honestly like I can't do this scene justice. Like the teleplay of this, the script writing of this is so good.
Yeah.
And his delivery of it is so good because he's getting more and more scared as he tells it. Right? So again, it's kind of like this bleeding of his dream and reality. Right? He's living what he dreamt. It's like deja vu, but it's also like a foretelling of a dream,
A premonition
of it's all kind of like jumbled up in there. Because what he's dreamed and fears is starting to happen in his reality, as far as we can tell. But his buddy's like, "Hey, come on, let's just go. Let's go around back of Winkies. there's nothing back there. Or he doesn't say that, but he's like, we're going to figure this out. So he follows his friend back there, and he's getting real scared. And then he gets up to a corner of a round, kind of like a bend where probably like the trash cans and everything are kept.
Yep.
Trash bins. And right when he was about to turn that corner, just bam! Creepy, dirt-faced man appears in front of him, and he kind of faints. He falls back.
He drops dead.
Yeah, I mean, he kills him. He kills him from fear. Right.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the scene.
It's funny you say friend, because I kept reading that dude as a therapist. Not that it really needs
maybe, yeah.
No, it really needs reading into, but I was like, this guy is like an authority figure to him somehow. But
yeah, because he's not really like he's only kind of humoring him. Right. It's like you can tell your story, but I'm not really buying it.
He's definitely humoring him, but he feels safe.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it could be a therapist, could be a friend. Yeah.
But it definitely
doesn't really matter.
That second guy definitely does not see witchy poo come out.
No, and he doesn't have the fear.
No.
That he saw in him in his dream. Yeah.
Right. And I do like one thing, and this is how my brain works. One thing I saw when she like kind of slides out and like jump scare, it reminded me of House on Haunted Hill, the old lady that slides in the frame to scare the girl. It's a really famous shot in that movie, but it was the same type of sliding kind of motion where it's like it's unearthly in its presentation.
It's a pretty good jump scare.
Yeah.
For a something you kind of knew was coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's telegraphed the whole way. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a monster guy back there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then around this time too, we have the scene with the hitman as well, which is hilarious. That guy, what's that?
This is the Coen brothers scene.
That's Mark Pellegrino.
Yes. Yeah, he's been in a ton of shit.
This is very Coen brothers.
Agreed.
100%. Yeah. Because I mean, it is a really funny. Something bit me real bad.
Every time that delivery kills me.
Yes, because you expect.
Perfect.
Okay, so I don't know how this guy was related to the wreck. Do we have any idea how the guy behind the chair was related to the accident that happened to Rita? Because I assume that's what he's talking about.
He could have been the one that they contacted to
set up
the hit. Yeah. That's kind of what I get a sense. These are both
hitmen,
contract killers. Yeah,
yes,
and
they are certainly professional friends.
Yes, because we don't need to go into this, but it's probably important to deciphering this movie. We've already had the producer dude in the room and all those calls that happen, and we find out that Rita is missing and they're all looking for her.
Yeah.
So you can surmise in this scene that not the guy sitting behind the desk, but Mark Pellegrino, I don't know what his name is in the movie, is been contracted to find and kill Rita.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's also closing some loose ends.
Yes.
With killing that guy, because that guy's messed up, essentially.
That guy messed up, and he has a black book that probably would have been important in the television show, but doesn't.
Probably. There's probably a lot of strings here. Yeah, that would have been way
But
more
the moment that
this scene is in the pilot, for sure, as well, yeah.
And when he confirms that this is so-and-so's little black book of all of his contacts, he gets killed.
Yep.
And then he tries to set it up like it's a suicide. Oh my God. And then the gun accidentally goes off when he's placing it in his hand, shoots through the wall, to which the guy who's
you just hear a little scream next door.
Yeah, but also he's like looking at the wall like, whoops.
And then he hears the yelp.
And then he hears the yelp.
Oh my God. Like, this has got way more complicated.
And then there's a maintenance man who also shows up.
Yeah.
He's like, come in here. You're going to have to call 911. I can't do everything myself.
I can't do everything myself. Yeah, because he goes in to the office where
Joe Messing is the guy's name. Joe.
Yeah, where the woman got got bit real bad. And
There's some kind of a bug in here.
He drags her out of there because he's got to stage the scene to make it
And
look
literally
likely,
kicking and screaming.
And that's when he sees the guy down the hall. And the guy down the hall, if I'm that guy down the hall, man, I've probably seen some crazy shit in this rundown or this rundown office, like park or whatever they're in. I was like, I'm not going down that hall. But he does. He goes down the hall, and he's already killed the woman to kind of
put her body next to
her body on the ground next to the desk where the guy's dead, and then he of course shoots the vacuum first. And that causes a start, and then he shoots the guy. It's like, oh my god.
Well, and then the shooting the vacuum causes an electrical fire, which sets off the fucking alarm in the building. Yeah. So this is like,
it's common.
We can talk about what I think this means later, because like as a construct of somebody's dream. It's pretty funny. But yeah, he grabs the black book and jumps out the window, basically. Or runs down the fire escape to get away.
It's also like, it's interesting because, I mean, obviously we meet this guy later and we find out he's a hitman for another character. Mm-hmm. But yeah, everything goes wrong for this guy in that scene. And that juxtaposed to how everything's going so well for Betty in this reality, or whatever you want to call it, the air quotes, is interesting, right? Because she's living just this charmed life, and there's also been dropped in this intriguing mystery that she's enjoying, right? Like her LA experience is complete, because we also see her follow her to her audition, which goes exceedingly well to the point of ridiculous. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the sexiest audition ever.
We've just seen her run her lines with Rita.
Yes,
right?
And it's really bad.
It's really bad dialogue. Yeah. It's really, really goofy, and they're both kind of playing it very old Hollywood noir. Right?
You're still here? But that is a cool, like, start to that argument. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a moment of her anger. Yes.
Yes, you're not sure who she's talking to. Yeah. It is. It's a nice little movie trick there. Yeah.
There is also, we mustn't forget that there's a little bit of Honora that happens in this movie when fucking Adam comes home to find his wife sleeping with Billy Ray Cyrus, which then leads to later the more Honora scene where the big rough and tumble mobster guy shows up at the house also, which just pisses off Adam's wife. But anyway, more comedy.
It's like everything with Adam's wife and Billy Ray Cyrus is comedy, man.
Oh my god, because he's like, I don't care what she's done. That's not how you treat your wife. And he's just like with his hands on his hips. And like, that's just not right.
I also like it when he's in bed. He just says, "Well, he's probably upset."
He's like the one voice of reason of all of the characters. Yeah, because everything he says is like, it's like he's reading the notes in between the dialogue lines, right? Like it's like, well, he's upset. That's not how you should treat your wife. That's, and all of this. And he even tries to talk to the big giant mob guy, which just ends up getting him punched out. But like the wife tries to like climb all over him to stop him from coming into the house and everything. And it's like, oh my god, it's just insanity over there.
He got the wife calling him, and he like punches her. Yeah, and then Billy Ray Cyrus like charges at him, and he just like punches the crap out of Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah.
And he's this Hulk of a man. He's like Kingpin. Yeah.
That's a bit Raising Arizona-ish, that scene, too.
Oh, sure.
Another Coen Brothers like scene.
Yep. But yeah, that's the two separate scenes. So yeah, he finds out that his wife is cheating on him with Gene, the pool guy. played by Billy Ray Cyrus.
But he gets the pool later. She gets the pool guy.
Yes, yeah, oh yeah. He's like, it's like sometimes things just work out, right? Or something like that. But that's a funny thing. Lynch was he said he heard Billy Ray Cyrus come on the radio, and he started listening to it. And he started thinking about it. He's like, yeah, that's Gene the pool guy. It's like cast.
That's funny.
But yeah, and also we didn't mention that when he left we've kind of backtrack on Adam a little bit, because we meet Adam when he is in a production meeting with his agent and I think one of the producers of the movie at like the studio, and then these two Italian guys who are clearly the actual money, right?
Yeah,
right. And they want him.
This is the girl.
Yeah, this is the girl. When you hear the name Camilla Rhodes, you will say, "This is the girl." And he's like, "What are you talking about? What girl?" He's like, "What's the?" He doesn't have context for this meeting, which cracks me up.
The whole thing just spirals out of control immediately.
And there's the one guy who works at the studio or whoever he is. You know, he's like a producer or a producer's assistant or something. He's like, yes, that next one will be the one. And the guy next one's like, he's not gonna like it. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And it's an espresso. He's trying to give an espresso to this Italian man, Luigi Castigliani, played by Angelo Badalamenti, which cracks me up.
It's so awesome.
Gave him just as much of a mouthful for his character's last name as his actual last name.
And he's the guy who does the music.
And of course, he does the music. Yep. Angelo didn't do much acting.
Napkin.
Yeah,
napkin.
he puts the espresso in his mouth, and then he just lets it like drip out of his mouth, and he spits it onto the napkin, and he's not happy with his espresso. It's like, what?
Oh my god,
it's so funny. It's just ridiculous, but it also kind of double duty. It's like these are not guys to fuck with, right?
Right.
They will spit out your espresso. But he's like, I'm not casting anyone that you want. I'm kind of cast who I want to cast. So like, you can cast anyone else you want. That's fine. But this is the girl. Like, no. So he leaves. He storms out, and he ends up taking he carries around a pitching wedge.
It's like a putter or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and so some kind of wedge golf club, and he smashes their car windshield with it, and then he runs away.
And he's obviously like David Lynch. Yeah, right?
Yeah. I would say probably, yeah. He's
a little proxy,
he's playing a little bit with a little self-deprecating, but also just like venting some frustration with studio interference. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I would do if I could. I'd beat the shit out of their cars when they.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'd run away because I know that I'm not really a fighter. Yeah,
the run is so funny. Too.
It is. Which Justin Thoreau, by the way, I don't think he had much of a career coming into this either.
He has some good moments in this.
He does.
I met him so much later. Like, I think The Leftovers is the first thing I really remember him in. So when I watched this again, I was like, holy shit, he's so young in this.
He's very young. He's almost unrecognizable. Yeah, especially when you put him up against his character in Leftovers.
Yeah.
But anyway, weird. Here's a weird thing. Justin Thoreau's father or grandfather or something, or uncle, I don't know, is the person who wrote the novel for The Mosquito Coast.
I remember us. We talked about this, I think, at one point.
Yeah,
I remember that
because he starred in like the remake miniseries, and that's so bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so then Adam, that's when we then follow him to his house. He has the encounter with Billy Ray Cyrus, who's having sex with his wife.
Pours the paint all over jewelry and gets it all over himself.
Yep. And yeah, he gets hit by Billy Ray Cyrus, but he leaves. And then later, we see the scene with like the Kingpin guy going back there because he's essentially looking for Adam, right? Because Adam isn't playing ball. And he also fucked up the the Italian guy's limo, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and Adam has been hiding out in a like a really shitty little flea trap.
Cookies place.
Yeah, and he gets told by his assistant, who is more than welcome to pick up the leftovers. Speaking of her boss, if he's not getting laid, she's like, okay, well, whatever. You're supposed to meet with the cowboy.
Yeah,
he's like, the cowboy. It's like, well, I mean, I don't have a 10-gallon hat.
I have to walk up the trail and meet the corral.
Well, because like when she's like continuing on, it's like, you don't know what you're missing. He's like, all right, get along, little doggy. I'll talk to you later.
He also has an encounter with the proprietor of the hotel that he's staying.
Cookie.
Yeah. And Cookie tells him some very important things. He's like, there's a problem with your credit card. And Adam at first is like, well, I pay you cash. It's like, well, there were some men that came by who said they were with the bank, and they say that you are unable to pay your bills, and that all of your credit has been cut off.
Yeah, your cash flow basically has been shut down.
And he's like, but I have enough cash to pay you for the rest of the week. And he's like, I have an obligation.
Yes, he says, I wrote it down. I love the way this is written. He says, it was my duty to inform you, whomever you are hiding from, they know where you are. Oh, that's so good. That's just so good. I have a duty to inform you.
Yeah.
Cookie's a good guy. But, so now then he has a conversation with the cowboy, and then he's like,
right.
Okay.
Because the cowboy is like, you know what you need to do, because he's also acting like he doesn't really know why he's meeting with the cowboy. He doesn't really seems to be like paying attention.
He's very flippant.
But he does repeat back to the cowboy that he has been listening. He repeats back exactly what he says about, like, basically doing what's right.
Then what did I say?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
If you do what's right, you'll see me one more time.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you do what's wrong, you'll see me two more times.
Yep.
This feels like so much like the Robert Blake scene in Lost Highway with the telephone call and the I'm calling from your house right now, like, scene. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. And like a cryptic seer almost kind of thing. Like, yeah. That too.
Like this guy just kind of like came in out of, I don't know, out of some other dimension, right? and he's trying he's trying to simulate and look normal and talk normal, but it's not working. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically the message is you're going to go back and cast the girl. Yeah. You're going to cast Camilla Rose. But we've talked so much about Adam, and we skipped over all the investigating that Rita and
right. I think I think we needed to like finish that up so that we can.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying that's the next thing we should talk about.
Yeah, because this
real quick on that, the cowboy Monty Montgomery, not an actor, if you couldn't tell. He's a producer. He produced Wild at Heart.
Oh, okay.
He also co-directed The Loveless with Catherine Bigelow, which is a very, very cool movie if you haven't seen it. But anyway, David Lynch wanted him for this role, and he's like, I don't want to do it. I'm not an actor. He's like, you have to do it, Monty. You have to. They lived in like kind of close to each other too, so they were kind of neighbors and buddies. He's like, you have to do it, Monty. It's perfect. It's perfect. And when the day came, Justin Theroux wanted to run lines with Monty Montgomery, and Monty Montgomery was saying, "No, I'm good. I think I've got it." And then when they went to shoot, he did not have it at all. Like, it was a disaster. He couldn't remember his lines for anything. So that's why a lot of his stuff is shot over Justin Theroux's shoulder.
Theroux's holding the
Theroux's holding all the lines for him. Yep. On like his shoulders and his chest and everything. It's all there. Yeah. And so then after when Dave was like, cut, print, Justin Theroux went up to David Lynch. He's like, David, I don't know if that's going to work. His performance was pretty woody. And David was like, no, it's going to be perfect. It's perfect. And then sure enough, he watches it in the context of the scene. He's like, oh my God, it's absolutely perfect. It's so much more eerie now. Yeah.
Well, and that's what's so interesting about it, because like, like we talked about like how how much this plays out like kind of an old movie, right? Like or that it's almost like built and structured and played out obviously like a scripted movie or something. And, because this movie is kind of a mix of the most classic of genres. There's drama, there's some funny, there's some horror. And if nothing else with the horror, it's just how it's scored. Makes you think it's a horror movie, even if it isn't, really. And then the cowboy is the Western.
Yeah.
Because they even meet at like a fucking dude ranch or something. It's like, it's so weird. So it's like, it's a very interestingly, cobbled together these different genres, these different ideas, and it somehow makes this one movie.
It feels, if this movie, more than any of his other movies, even Fire Walk with Me, the Twin Peaks movie, this movie feels the most connected in tone and mood to Twin Peaks than any of his other work. Like, because of that mixing of genre and the awkward, funny comedy, right? The strange characters and performances. Like, it feels like so much of an extension of Twin Peaks to me.
Agreed.
Only missing David Bowie to fly down from the stars or something to satisfy a science fiction element.
Well, I mean, he is in Fire Walk with Me.
Right. I know that they work together. Yeah.
But anyway, I that really struck me this time watching it, how much DNA it shares with Twin Peaks. All right, but let's talk about the investigation. Who wants to take that part?
Go ahead, Jeff, if you want to.
Well,
Betty and Rita go to Winky's.
Yes.
And Rita sees the name Diane on a name tag, which sparks some memory.
Yep.
And there's also a reaction from Betty too, because that gives kind of there's a little bit of a clue, like, this person has unlocked something super important to both of them. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about to both of them.
Well, there seems to be almost a reaction like, she's going to be on to it. I think she's excited. She's excited by it that a memory's unlocked. But yeah, neither here nor there, I guess. It could be a self-realization, I guess, knowing what you know later. But Rita thinks that Diane might be her name. Yes. So
they go look in a phone book. And I don't know how she arrives at the name Selwyn. Does it just pop into her brain?
There was
she comes into the house like Diane Selwyn.
Yeah,
that's my name.
Yeah.
It's like it all clicked inside Rita's head. Yeah.
So they find it in a phone book, and oddly enough, Betty goes to call, and she says, "It feels weird calling yourself."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's got to be weird calling yourself, or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big one right there.
Oh boy,
it feels strange calling yourself, I think. Is what she says.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
And they call, but it goes to voicemail, and Rita's like, "That's not my voice."
Yeah.
But they decide it's got to be the only Diane Selwyn, even though it says D Selwyn.
Yeah.
In the phone book, so they decide to go over to the house.
Yeah. And before they do that, though, Betty goes to her audition.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to go. You be ready, because when I get back, I'm just going to leave the cab
running, and we'll go and go over to her place. Yeah, but she goes to her audition, and this is if there were ever a clue for the fact that this is the version of her life that she wishes all panned out, in the most perfect manicured way, it's this scene, because she has the audition of all auditions, right? Like, she has everyone in the room after she completes this audition clapping, right? It's the most ridiculous outcome of it.
It's a kangaroo court.
It just doesn't happen, right?
Right. And certainly not with fake Zoe Deschanel there.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. But there's the director, there's the producer, there is a casting agent and her assistant. The casting agent, however, is not casting the movie.
She doesn't believe in this either. You're not right for this. This is an old man's dying career that you don't want to be a part of.
Right. But she's here to kind of consult.
Yeah.
And the actor he's also an old Hollywood actor. I can't remember his name right now. But he
well, you know who the director is.
Oh, well not the director, the producer.
The producer.
It's Return of the Living Dead guy. Shit, what's his name?
Oh my God, what is his
James
fucking name?
James
Karen, yeah. I couldn't think of his first name. I just knew Karen was his last name. Yeah.
Yeah, James Karen. He's James Karen says, so any last minute notes? And he gives his notes to the guy they've already cast, the old man. He's like, make sure you don't rush that line, of so and so. And I can't remember the line. It's probably significant, but he's like, hey, look, I just use what they give me, right? It's almost like he's kind of like passing the buck and putting all the pressure on this fresh young actress.
But we're gonna play this one real close.
Yeah, but we're gonna play it real close. I liked how that felt in the last one. It's like, ooh, all right, creepy guy. But to her credit, Betty.
Oh, she meets the moment.
She meets the moment, yeah, and it's really interesting seeing that scene play. How different it plays than
it's so much more interesting the second time.
Yeah, and I think that there's something that's probably honestly the scene.
Yeah,
in a weird way, in reality, got launched Naomi Watts' career. I think it's the scene that did it.
She's really good in it.
Yeah, she is, and to see her have played the same script twice in two totally different ways, I think it's probably the real showcase for her acting ability in this movie.
Well, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's sexy. He's gross. I can't.
Yeah, he's gross. He's super gross.
Put my tongue in his mouth. Ugh.
Yeah, it probably tastes like cigarettes and suntan lotion.
But yeah, they all applaud for her, and it's like, okay, this is very much the ideal situation that no one has in Hollywood, right?
Except for the director, who's like an idiot about everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's like stone faced the whole time.
Paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah. But they walk out of the room, and the casting director lady is like, "Oh, that was shit." No, not you.
Not you. You were great. Yeah.
The whole thing is shit, though. In there, yeah, and like, that's when she.
You don't want any part of this project.
Right. I'm going to take you to something much better. Yeah. Which, that ain't going to happen.
No, she's not the girl.
No, and
she is kind of the girl. That's the fun.
Well, she is the girl, but this is something that'll play out importantly later. She does get very at first she's very like, oh, I caught the eye of the director. Then she's like, ooh, I caught the eye of the director, or I'm looking at this director, and she runs out of there. Now, of course, reads two different ways. In this moment, it just seems like, oh, she just got spooked or whatever, because she's got to go back and help Rita. But when you think about it later, it's like she can't reconcile this. It's bad for her.
Yeah, her perfectly constructed new reality is starting to crumble.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfectly constructed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the one thing that it's like we all have those things in our life that we think about. It's like, I don't like that. I didn't like that I did that thing, or that I made that choice, or that I, whatever.
Well, yeah. And
yes. That's, if this is entirely a dream world that she's constructed, she's like, and then recoils from it and runs away. Yeah.
So then she goes, this is where she goes back. She finds Rita, and they go to find, Diane, figure out who this Diane lady is that Rita thinks is her.
And this is the moment where you can say it is maybe a Jacob's ladder.
Yeah, because
they do find something, and it's gross.
Nobody recognizes
Rita, which you would think they would have. And
like, well, she lives over there, and I was like, okay, well, I guess you're not I guess you're not her, Diane. And then they go to an apartment, and somebody's in there. And are you Diane? And she doesn't recognize Rita. She's like, no, we swapped apartments. So then
because there's guys in car waiting out front that they're hiding from, or that they duck behind the bushes from. They're like walking around and everything. So it's like that's why there's a swap, because there's eyes on this apartment 12.
Right. And then when they get to her apartment, Betty breaks
17.
in. 17, yeah.
They also had to avoid a bunch of being seen by some weird guys in cars, which you assume are cops, right? At that point.
Well, I thought it would be Robert Forster again, because he hasn't come back.
Yeah, and it's interesting. In the pilot, there's a little bit more about their investigation. I don't quite remember exactly what it is,
sure.
but yeah.
No, but that's what I figure it is.
They are
cops,
starting to, they start coming to some of the same conclusions, I think, about some of, I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but it doesn't matter. What does matter is that there's a dead woman in apartment 17. And it's likely
she's been decomposing.
Yeah, and it's likely Diane.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is interesting because we see this exact posture of the person in the bed 2 more times.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way that person is lying on top of the bed. And that's why I say this is maybe some evidence to a Jacob's ladder.
Yeah, I explain what you mean by that.
So, because of what we find, and because of the people who find it, and because of what we will see happen later, particularly at the end of the movie, so the second time we see that same way that person's lying in bed, that it does seem like it is almost like an out of body. You are seeing yourself die, and these are the last fleeting memories, and you're constructing this whole narrative where everything is perfect, where the person that you couldn't have is dependent upon you totally.
Yeah, because I mean, things start to the facade, if you will, starts to fall apart pretty quickly.
Oh, the whole thing is about the rush headlong down into the shitter.
Yeah. So
not before a extremely beautiful scene, and it's not the lesbian sex scene. It's the scene after that.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, so they go back to the apartment, and Rita's freaking out. She's like, she's probably right. You know, she is right. So somebody's trying to kill me. She's like trying to cut her hair, and I'm probably trying to disguise herself, right? And Betty helps her, like, just gives her a blonde wig instead, very similar to Betty's hair, right?
It's the Marilyn Monroe back in the day bob haircut.
Yeah. Yeah, which is also interesting because Lynch almost directed a Marilyn Monroe biopic, and he didn't. He developed it for a while, and then he decided not to do it because he wanted to do it because he was fascinated with the idea of a woman in trouble, but then gave it up because he didn't like being constricted with an actual person, a real person. He was like,
but it is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's pretty much my point is that, yeah, so all right, so this is very much, he's bleeding a little bit of those ideas here into this movie.
Yeah. But it's also significant that Betty wants to make Rita more like her.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which in reality is flipped, right? But
yes.
Yeah,
this is definitely her exerting control over her.
Yes. Oh, for sure. She's the pliable one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it then leads to her saying, it's like, oh, I don't want to sleep alone. It's like, well, you can sleep in bed. Oh, you're going to sleep nude. Okay, then I guess it's on.
Yep.
It's kind of there's a quick progression of, oh, don't be afraid to, it's almost predatory in some ways. Which of course in the long run, again, in retrospect, it is. I mean,
well, I don't know that.
Well, she's putting herself, she is, at the very least, she is constructing a series of events in which she has total control over.
But I also think it's a quick run of reality of something that actually happened.
I do too. Sure. I also think it's a reinforcement of the codependency that Diane is comfortable with, that Rita / Camilla is not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, clearly we're still living in Betty's fantasies, right? So she's going to reenact whatever the good parts of their relationship were.
Now, I do really quickly want to say...
It's almost like she's grasping at straws at this. Like she's trying desperately to keep the fantasy.
Let's keep this shit together. Yeah.
Because she does also tell Rita, I'm in love with you. And Rita kind of backs up for a second and then kind of leans back, like almost like
she's a good point.
She backs up, but she kind of, that's real life bleeding through until she can reassert control over the fantasy.
And that's also Steph saying when she wasn't watching this movie with me, you've known her one day. One thing I do want to make sure we point out, when Betty ran away from the audition, this was for the all important role of in a musical biopic about a singer that the mob wanted Camilla Rhodes cast for. And the cowboy had said, when you see her, you're to say, this is the girl. And he calls over he gets his assistant called over, and it's like he just kind of stands there for a little bit. It's like, so were you gonna say something to me?
Tell me something?
And then like the mob guy kind of like peeks up from behind, like he's like growing out of the guy's back, and he's like, this is the girl. And like everything is cool now with that movie.
Yep.
So everything is good, and
but we'll find out that movie is significant in another way soon.
Yep.
I should mention, just for the sake of the fun of it, this isn't really doing anything for Lynch's legacy because he would hate that I'm mentioning this, but the pilot ends with the wig, them side by side with the two blonde hair and looking at each other in the mirror, and then it very spookily, like almost every fucking Twin Peaks episode ends, it kind of drifts into darkness and shadows, and then that shot we see later of the man behind Winkies in the alleyway with the red lighting and sitting on the crate, that's what you see at the end, and then it goes perfectly to black, and then that's the end of the pilot.
I bet you Betty would have punched a mirror eventually in this TV show, probably. Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't in the movie.
Yeah.
So then instead of it ending, they have sex because there will be nudity.
Yes.
Boy, howdy.
But then Rita wants to do something strange.
Silencio.
Yeah, she starts talking in her sleep, like almost like in a trance-like state. She's like repeating Silencio, and then whatever it is for the band is not here, or there is no band, or whatever the line is in Spanish.
No hay banda.
No hay banda.
So then she's like, we have to go to Club Silencio. We have to go there tonight. Now. And it's like, it's 2 a.m.
in the morning.
And it's like, but this is a David Lynch movie. Of course, they're going to be open at odd hours for the weirdos.
Yeah.
So we're going to go. And she's like, all right, I guess. And so they go, and they walk in, and they take a seat, and the guy from the hotel, whatever his name was, Junior, what was his name? The guy from Cookie. Yeah. He comes out on stage and basically explains to everybody, you are seeing a fantasy.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's Cookie, though.
Well, it's the same guy.
It's the same guy.
I know it's the same guy, but I don't think it's Cookie.
No, it probably is not. Right. No. Because also
him as MC, a separate character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we also like there's some reason to believe that all the things we saw with Adam, except for the casting of that singer,
Right.
is real.
Oh, that's Melissa George, by the way.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Because except for that one scene in which her and he lock eyes and she runs away, Betty runs away. Everything else that I see Adam in, I think is real. I think it's happening in the real world.
I kind of feel that. I do. Yeah.
I do not.
I think it's a close version of it. Because, I don't know.
I think when we get to the end, the "this is the girl" thing has a dual purpose in this movie too.
Well, that happens in the scene that,
no, it happens in the boardroom scene. He's told to say "this is the girl," and that relates exactly to a moment that happens coming up soon.
Well, yes.
Yeah, and there's also that Melissa George, Camilla Road shows up again too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first time we see, yeah.
But we'll get it'll be better to talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
It'll be better to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, somebody
only one of the most beautiful scenes in cinematic history happens.
Yeah. So. Lady comes out on stage. I can't think of her name.
Rebecca Del Rio.
Rebecca Del Rio
herself.
Comes out on stage.
Of the river.
And does a rendition like a lip syncing, which we don't know at first, but she's singing the Spanish version of "Crying."
Yeah, Roy Orbison.
It's so good.
It is, and that's a good song in general. Doesn't matter if it's Roy Orbison, Rebecca Del Rio, or Katie Lang. It's good. But they are realizing, because they start crying and everything. And at this point,
they're crying to crying.
Yeah. But you can tell at this point that everything it's basically over at this point.
Well, yeah, because she starts shaking in her chair,
Yeah. And it's the shattering of this new reality into the old.
Well, and Betty, if she discovers the box,
and she also discovers the box, which is the exit point when they get back home.
Yeah.
But no, this is where I would have thought that the end of the pilot would have been.
Right. No,
this is because this feels like a cliffhanger.
But this is too much of later in the story. I think
this is Lynch trying to bridge the two realities. I think this was the cornerstone of the idea of how to resolve the feature versus pilot problem. Yeah,
I'm curious though, Jason, because you said it's one of the most beautiful scenes ever. Were you just talking about the song, or is there something more about it?
Just the feel of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. The song, the Rebecca Del Rio's voice, her rendition. The
emotion of her singing that.
Singing is already affecting in its own sense, and then you see them crying and reacting for a different reason, but also the same reason that you are. I don't know. I just find it very, very deeply affecting.
And then to find out
it always makes my eyes well up.
Yeah. And then to find out she's not really singing it, even though in reality she is. That is like a heartbreak too. That's beyond.
It's shattered the illusion. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is always disappointing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Good little anecdote about this. Lynch dabbled in a lot of music other than just making films, and somebody was like, "Hey, I got this singer. You got to hear her. I think she's someone you would really like." And so they brought her in, Rebecca Del Rio, into not really kind of audition, but Lynch just kind of wanted to hear her sing, and she had weirdly enough, Rebecca Del Rio knew Roy Orbison's widow, and she had gotten permission to do this translation of the song, and with the intent of probably recording it right from Roy Orbison's widow. But that's what she sang. She came in, then she wasn't planning on doing anything on tape, and I think she had just come from breakfast, and she was just doing this quick meeting, she thought, at David Lynch's studio, but they wanted to record it, so they put her on tape. She sang that song. And that's the the exact cut audio that they used in the movie. Like her
That's
just
insane.
like, okay, I'll just sing this for you. You know,
Breath smelling like bacon.
yeah,
ends
not
up in a
prepared probably at all, right? But that's the exact audio they use in this movie. Pretty wild.
That's pretty awesome.
It was also almost the song "Crying" was almost the song Lynch used in place of "In Dreams" in Blue Velvet. So he felt that there was some strange synchronicity there.
Well, I mean, the whole scene does remind me of Blue Velvet.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's that centerpiece moment in in both movies that you're just watching a performance.
Yep.
It's the best scene of this movie. For me, at least, by far.
Yeah, I would not disagree. Which is funny because a couple years later, Southland Tales used another movie we've covered, Richard Kelly, movie we've already talked about with Donnie Darko. He used Rebecca Del Rio in the third act of his movie, and she sings the national anthem in Spanish, and it's fucking incredible.
I remember that.
That's also the best scene in that movie.
Well, why isn't Rebecca Del Rio singing in every movie?
She's awesome, man. And then she brought her back. Lynch brought her back for a Roadhouse performance in Twin Peaks.
Showtime. Yeah.
And it's.
I didn't realize that was her, but I remember that. Yeah, good stuff.
At first I thought David Lynch made another Roadhouse movie, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
what? And she's in it too. Oh my god!
Yeah,
she's behind like the fence, and people are.
She says a polar bear fell on me at the end of it. It's really good
in Spanish.
Yes,
musically. Yeah,
el polar de bear.
Oh boy,
I need to brush up on my Spanish.
Nah, it's perfect. It's fine. It's perfecto.
One other quick note before we get to the actual conclusion. The hitman shows up at Winky's too, looking for Rita, and he runs into a prostitute who has the same haircut as Betty, and Rita's wig kind of looks like Betty a little bit, and Betty gets into the back, or not Betty, but whatever the prostitute's name is, gets into the back of a van, and that's the end of that scene. But I think it's another clue to some character people in this at the end. Yeah,
absolutely. So after they get home, they match key to box, but before they open the box, who is it that disappears first?
Betty.
It's Betty disappears, and when Rita opens the box, it falls to the floor, and she's gone. And Aunt Ruth comes into the room thinking she's heard something, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a little bit of a door crack there for there to be like an alternate reality parallel, entering one universe into the other.
Yeah.
Because obviously she heard something. She heard the box fall to the floor, but nothing was there. And the cowboy returns to tell to tell who we think is Betty to wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up, pretty girl.
Yep. And we hear knocking on the door. It's the lady that lived in number 17 that swapped places with Diane to live in 12. And Naomi Watts comes in, wakes up, which now I realize why she looks very similar but very different, because it's like 2 years later. But everything about her is different.
She looks a lot more like the prostitute that the hitman was looking for. That's for sure. Which
that definitely says something about that poisonous Valentine to Hollywood and what it does to particularly starlets.
Well, especially when you're trying to raise money for a specific thing.
Sure. But I mean, I just say that it would also be something that a lot of.
No, I agree. It can be read that way, but I think she was raising money for a specific thing. Otherwise, where else would she get it?
Sure. Well, actually, she did say.
Yeah, in the dream.
No, in real life, I think did she tell Adam's mother that her aunt passed away and left her money, and that's why she moved to.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
So
I wouldn't imagine she still had that money, but
after
you could be right.
After she won the sock competition, yeah.
But her aunt also,
but also maybe it did. Yeah, it could have run out. Yeah. I mean, she didn't get.
She no longer lives in her aunt's place if her aunt left it to her.
Correct. Yeah.
So I would imagine her life went down the toilet. And
well, drugs will eat up your income pretty fast.
Yeah. So I think there's a bit of both there. Jeff, Hollywood ate her up and spit her out, and then she had to resort to shit to raise the money for the thing we're about to talk about.
Yeah. So she's really, really like, come get your shit, get the fuck out of here, lady, from that used to live here that now lives in my old apartment. And she's just a completely different person. Like the light is gone. Now it returns briefly because she sees Rita, who we think is Rita there, but that's really Camilla Rhodes.
But there's a horror like aspect. Like I think the light does return, but it's not as happy sighting for sure.
No. Yeah. But I mean, but there is a little bit of a shift to where she can actually like not just be short and grumpy, it's like, but you're right. There is something else.
There's emotion there. There's emotion there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not glossed over just happiness. But then Camilla / Rita disappears again. And so at this point, she's just simply spiraling. She's having memories of like when Camilla says we can't be together anymore, while they were like, like right after Camilla says you're driving me wild. Oh, we can't do this anymore, which is probably two memories jumbled into one. Something that happened the day before being jumbled up with the next day we can't be together. It seems like to me there's a lot of I don't know if coping is the right word, but it's a lot of like up and down emotion that seems more like how she's feeling it than what the reality is. And then because we all do that too, right? When there was a breakup or something, it's like, well, just the day before she was like this, and now today she's gone, or it's like everybody does that.
It's a spiral.
Yeah. And then, much like everybody else, we've all been there. Sometimes you just have to masturbate while you're crying and sweating.
Yeah. Crying.
But yeah, it eventually circles back around to realizing that,
we get the Winky scene.
Well, we get the Winky scene, but not.
It's not until after the
dinner. The dinner.
Yeah, because there's two scenes that are important. There's she's working on the movie that Camilla Rhodes was cast as the singer on,
right?
And she knows that Adam and Camilla are starting a relationship too, and almost. Like this almost seems like something cruel on Camilla's part because like.
It is.
Adam wants to make out with her and clear the set, but Camilla's like, well, can Diane stay?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, everybody but Diane needs to leave. And it's like, that's cruel. Yeah. Like if that really happened, that's cruel. Which there is, that's why there is some room for a tiny bit of sympathy for Diane.
Sure.
Because life is not working out. Yeah, her heart's broken in multiple ways because her career is not working out. Yep. Her friend and her lover is now a star, and is leaving her.
And this is where Naomi Watts thought, I can relate to this so much after I tried to put that hit out on Nicole Kidman. So I'm so glad I stopped that in time.
No shit.
That's kind of that's leading me to all sorts of different ideas there. Yeah, hell yeah.
I know. I know where your filthy mind is. Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Anyway,
when she invites her to the party,
this is another cruelty of sorts. It's like
it is.
Because like it's there. The party is for a very specific thing. That's like, ew, yeah.
But this is what Chuck was alluding to earlier about some of the doubling, right?
Mm-hmm.
She is now, Diane's in the limo. It's being driven up Mulholland Drive, and then the driver stops.
We can't stop here. We're not supposed to stop here. Yeah.
Exactly. The same thing that Rita / Camilla said right before they tried to kill her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because never mind.
But then
and it's the same driver too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we see that Camilla comes down the staircase and
it's just a trail.
It's just a trail, yeah, like a trail, yeah, and leads her up the trail to the party.
Yeah, it's a shortcut to the party, and it gives Diane this thinking that, oh, we're sharing a moment.
This is romantic.
Here. This is a romantic walk up to this party, only for it to immediately be shattered by two things. One, Adam coming out, it's like, oh, here's to love.
Yeah.
Meaning him and Camilla, not Camilla and Diane. And Adam's mom being a real bitch. It's like, God, I'm hungry. And it's like, I'm sorry I was late. It's like, why is everybody waiting on her? You know, making it seem like it's Diane's fault for everything here. Which could be more projection, but yeah, I mean, I did my homework between last night and today. It's like, I understand that all of the people who were antagonistic to Diane are really friendly and on her side in the Betty world.
Yeah, it to me, it feels almost like a reverse Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Well, it's the flipping of the Mobius strip, right?
Yeah,
like it's the underside. Yeah.
Yeah. Which,
anyway.
Well,
another Lynch influencer, like huge Lynch influence, Wizard of Oz. He once said that there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about the Wizard of Oz.
That's very whimsical, isn't it?
Yeah.
I kind of love
everything
that.
Is in that movie. Everything is in that movie.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, and this is a slimy version of that, right? Like everything. Yeah.
It's like Heather's.
Well, which is funny. It's like I mean, again, I just saw Life of Chuck. And Chuck, all of the people in your life are in multiple roles in that too.
I can't wait to see that one because I want to see how they did on
your life.
Yeah.
Well, you might not. Yeah.
They do it justice.
Yeah. I mean, are we living inside Chuck's head right now?
Did you find a grenade in the Niagara River?
I mean, at least you have Tom Hiddleston playing you. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice. And he's got an awesome dance scene in it.
I thought it'd be like Bald Jack Black or Conan's sidekick.
If only he sang Suspicious Minds, though, by Elvis. That would
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah.
Perfect.
But anyway, no, it's very similar. Like all of these movies are all like they even reference Wizard of Oz in that too. Yeah. So it's like, it's like, man, I'm like full of these Wizard of Oz moments all of a sudden.
And she sees something odd happens at the dinner. Like Adam is about to announce the engagement. And Camilla starts kissing a woman next to her who is the Melissa George Camilla from.
Yeah, it's just like a mistress.
The mom
like
Camilla, the girl. This is the girl, and she starts kissing her, who's sitting next to her, and
like just right in front of, like
right in front of her. Yeah, and Diane starts to like do her rage shake thing.
I don't blame her.
No.
Well, I mean, it's so wild that it's like I do have a lot of sympathy for Diane. not total sympathy, but a lot of sympathy because it's
well,
like,
if you didn't know what she
It's
did,
tragic.
you would be totally sympathetic
sure.
with her.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
her,
it's like,
it's what it drove her to that makes her a bad person.
absolutely, absolutely. But I do still have like an understanding, right? Like, yeah, she couldn't handle that. And it's like, this is the only way that, like, I can understand.
There's only other way to do it. And she ended up doing it.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah.
So at this point, it's like now we go back to Winky's.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like she slept in like days.
Yeah.
And she pulls out the picture of Rita Camilla.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the girl. And Joe's like, what are you doing? Don't show me the picture here. It's like, this is Hollywood. Everybody's got a picture.
Yeah.
And the resume. Come on now. It's like, I love that cynical, like, way that she delivers that. It's like, shut up. Everybody's got one. It's
a headshot for a headshot, baby.
Yep.
Pretty much. And he's like, all right. And he pulls out a key. And he's like, you will find this in the place that I told you you'd find this when the job is done. It's a blue key.
Yep.
And
it's a normal blue key.
Yeah, it's one of those normal quickie set keys. Yeah.
The cube key.
Right.
The lament configuration key.
That was a weird key.
It's a lament configuration situation.
Yeah.
It's a lament configuration situation. Yeah. Holy shit. I used to be clever.
But anyway, she's they go not. I mean, it's like the next scene. It's like almost smash cut, right? She's in her apartment,
staring at the key,
right? And from there, it kind of gets all sorts of hallucinatory.
The old people like come waddling. Yeah, it's the old people come waddling out of a paper bag that the spooky homeless guy. I'm just gonna call her Witchy Poo because
the giggling to each other.
Yeah. Oh God. And it's like all like it's like stop motion. So it's like really awkward looking. And then they come in under the door into Diane's apartment.
Yeah, it's like composite. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they like chase after her and they're like, it's, which forces her to run into the bedroom and pull a gun out of her nightstand and shoots herself. And she's lying in the position that we saw.
On the pillow we see in the beginning of the
and lying
at the end.
Yep. And she's lying in that same position that Diane or that Betty and Rita found her in.
Yes. Yes.
Which is, and then there's like the whole smoke thing, and then the curtain kind of drops, and we see projected on the curtain their happier times.
Yeah.
And then we are returned to Club Silencio to remind us that it was all a fantasy.
Yep.
That there is no band here.
Yeah.
Which the MC's dialogue there is also important. It's like if you want to hear something or if you want to experience something, you'll get it. Yeah. So if you do kind of want them to have that happy life, well, you got that for 2 hours. But it's not real, but you got it for 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but the reality is that it's all going to collapse and unravel. And much like the singer collapsed and unraveled the ruse, you know.
Yeah.
The box collapses and the ruse is unraveled. I think I get this movie.
I mean, yeah, generally it's pretty approachable, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would still be curious to see how this would have stretched out into an entire series.
Oh, it would have been totally different.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It would have been, I mean, it would have been more straight up normal mystery.
It would have been
like, who's Diane Selwyn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, to a degree, yeah. You're absolutely right. Who killed Laura Palmer would have become who is Rita. Or, who even killed Diane Selwyn, right? Because she's dead at the end of the pilot. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just
go ahead, Chuck. Sorry.
All I was going to say was, from the dream perspective, knowing that there are cracks for other possibilities, like her perfect life and the things like we all know that stuff, like her with Camilla or her with Rita, is all going swimming, right? It's what she would want to have happened.
Yeah.
But she's also fantasizing about the hitman she had to go kill Rita being a total fucking failure.
Yeah.
Right? Like all the things that she set in motion, like to make this horrible end happen is getting like fucked up by bumbling idiots on the side of the death. And she's like, it's all that other stuff about this is the girl, right? Like it's not me. It's the system that is fucking me. And I can't blame Camilla for this because I'm good and it's a kangaroo court that's judging, kind of thing. Like, I think that's like part of what her brain is trying to make sense of. But when she sees the director, Justin Theroux, that kind of crumbles her thing because she's like, well, he's the reason I'm in this situation. And now he's choosing her again.
Yeah.
I have to leave.
Yeah. Like, he's choosing another Camilla. Yeah.
But it is
But you're right.
Camilla,
you're right.
Right.
But yeah, but it's I agree with the fact that she's trying to make sense of Rita leaving her by creating all of these fantastical machinations behind the scenes that caused her to be cast instead of her in that movie. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's also the element where it's like, I do think that Camilla had control over Diane, like Betty tried to control Rita, because she talks about how, like, we met on this movie. She's helping me get roles. She's, she got me cast in some of her other movies. She's totally, like, her career is dependent upon this girl.
Yeah. And I think they were lovers.
And certainly Diane thought it to be something different than Camilla did.
Yeah. Well, it was a fling. It was a fling for Camilla, in a sense, or like, but then Camilla also succumbs to the Hollywood that makes you make terrible choices.
She's the
get ahead.
Stereotypical, actress who blows the director for a role.
Well, it's and because that ties back to what is it that Betty says at one point? I'd rather be known as a great actress than a movie star.
Oh yeah, it's totally that.
It's the other way around for Camilla. She became a movie star as opposed to a great actress.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, in much of Betty's reimagination, she's more Camilla than she is.
Yes. Yeah. And she's also, when she says that she'd rather be a great actress than a star, she's really just trying to make up excuses, right?
Well, because she also says, "Oh, sometimes you can be both." Like it almost immediately takes that back.
It's a bit of a wink, because.
But she still says it in that chipper way that, how can you falter? It's wild how you see two characters played so differently that changes your opinion of them so much. Yeah. In a course of like 5 minutes. Like it goes from, God, I really like these two and I really am rooting for them, to, oh my God, I hate both of them, I think. Yeah. By the end of it, you certainly don't like both of them.
That's the
because reality always sucks.
Yeah,
sorry.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, to give more laurels to Naomi Watts, that extra 18 minutes of script also really put her over the top, because you could see the juxtaposition of those two roles and how she played them. She's almost unrecognizable as Diane.
Yeah. I can somewhat see her from the first part of the movie.
Yeah.
But she's just twisted and is just so much different and like just beaten down and angry. And
she had to be the prostitute, right? And her memory just fudged her own face.
Probably. Yeah. Totally. I can buy that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, good movie. I think it's a movie for me that it'd be one of those movies that will only get better every time I revisit it. It's a lot the first time.
Sure.
Stick through it. There's some really good scenes. There's some really good performances. There's some really kind of spooky stuff. There's funny stuff. There's, just it's a lot of a lot.
It's all the best of David. Everything I like about David Lynch is in this movie, and barely any of the stuff I don't like.
Yeah.
There's nothing I don't like about this movie, actually.
It does like now that you say that. Now, granted, this is only the fifth of the movies of his that I've seen, but I can already see that it's kind of a greatest hits, right? Like I don't see any sandworms in this. There's no fucking Dune here.
It is unquestionably his masterpiece. Probably followed closely by, he made different types of masterpieces because Blue Velvet is pretty incredible.
Sure.
And The Straight Story, I think, is one of the...
That's the next one I would like to see.
So understated, and it's so beautiful. It has his fingerprints all over it, but it's so unconventional for him as well.
So it's a conventional film. I'm joking, but
Well, a conventional film would be unconventional for him, right?
That's what
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, no, that's one that's been on my radar for a long time. Between that one and I know he didn't make it, but Nebraska, I always think those two would pair well, but
probably would. Yeah. Well, I think we've done it.
I mean, you could probably have an entire series on this movie.
Oh, we're almost as long as the movie.
Yeah, we went pretty long.
No, we're not. We're not almost as long.
We did good though.
We did well.
So next week is Elephant Man. That is one I believe you have seen.
Oh, absolutely, I've seen. I've got actually an interesting story about that movie.
Elephant Man was one of the last Lynch films I saw, weirdly enough.
I saw it as a kid. It's the first Lynch film I saw.
Interesting. And there's a lot of good stories about that too. And that getting made and Mel Brooks's involvement. It's pretty interesting.
I love that stuff. I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah. So next week, June 25th. Tune in to listen to what we have to say about the Elephant Man.
El hombre elefante.
Oh, silencio.
Elephant.
So that is next Wednesday. Go to filmseizure.com. You'll find it there. You can also find all the places that we upload our show to, all of that good stuff right there at filmseizure.com. This upcoming Monday, on Monster Monday, same place, filmseizure.com, I have a discussion about Gamera 3 Revenge of Iris.
That's got to be almost as good as this movie.
Absolutely. In my book, it is. It's the conclusion of that mid 90s Gamera trilogy that is very, very fascinating. Good stuff. Do that, all of that stuff at filmseizure.com. This coming Friday at my website, bmovieanima.com, I have a review of Order of the Black Eagle, the sequel to that other movie that Unmasking the Idol.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for, I'm sure Vinegar Syndrome's got plans on doing Order of the Black Eagle, but
I hope so.
It's fun. There's a frozen Hitler in it. You gotta love a frozen Hitler.
Frozen Hitler.
No, they show you like immediately like these guys have a frozen Hitler. It's great.
My gosh.
Anyway, fun stuff. And Boone the Baboon is back, so you gotta love it. Anyway, so go to bmovieanima.com for that. So until then, I am going to return to my dream world. I have been Diane Selwyn.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and this has all been an illusion.
Silencio.